Imagine you're scrolling through social media. You see pictures of happy people who seem to have perfect lives. Immediately, you get the feeling that you're doing something wrong. Maybe you feel inferior or envious, and your inner critic starts speaking up. It tells you that you need to achieve more, look better, or be more successful. In these moments, you realize that you live in a constant state of comparison, which stresses you out and makes you unhappy. But where does this voice actually come from? Why do we constantly feel pressured to be better? This voice is your ego. Many people think of the ego as arrogance or excessive self-love. But the ego is much more subtle. It's the sum of all the thoughts and ideas you have about yourself. It's the image you've created in your mind, the one you identify with. Your ego tells you stories about who you should be, how you need to appear, and how others see you. This is exactly where your suffering begins, because the ego evaluates everything. It compares you to other people. It judges whether you are successful or a failure, popular or unpopular, valuable or worthless. The ego thrives on recognition, confirmation, and fear of not being good enough. It has a constant fear of being hurt or rejected. Maybe you know this situation. You receive praise and feel great. But even with the slightest criticism, you feel bad and doubt yourself. Your self-worth constantly fluctuates because it depends on external circumstances. Your ego makes you dependent on praise, recognition, and success. It defines your happiness by things you often can't control. But the truth is, you are not your ego. You are not that inner voice that's always judging, criticizing, and comparing. You are more than that. The ego is just a small part of your consciousness, a part you can observe and even let go of. You might be asking yourself now, but who am I then, if I'm not my ego? Who am I if I leave these stories and judgments behind? The answer is, you are the one who observes. You are the consciousness behind it, the one who feels when your ego is active. You are the still center that perceives without judging. You are the observer who remains calm inside, even when your ego is screaming loudly. As soon as you understand that you are not your ego, you've taken a big step towards feeling free inside. Because once you can observe your ego, you lose the identification with its stories. You notice what it tells you, but you don't have to believe it. You are free to choose differently. How to do this exactly, we will look at more closely in the coming sections. You will learn to gently observe your ego without letting it dominate you. You will learn how to find inner peace and serenity by no longer identifying with your ego. But first, a little reflection for you. Think really hard about this. How many times a day do you feel judged or pressured by your ego? Can you notice these moments? This conscious awareness is the first step to true inner freedom. In the first part, you learned what the ego is and why it causes you suffering. It's that inner voice that's always judging, criticizing, and comparing you. Now you're probably wondering how you can even recognize this voice in your everyday life, and most importantly, how you can free yourself from its pressure. Let's first look at how the ego makes itself known. A typical example is your inner critic. Maybe you're familiar with thoughts like, "You can't do this," "Others can do it better," or "What do other people think of me?" Such thoughts don't just pop up randomly. They come from your ego's need to maintain or improve a familiar self-image. The ego is a master of disguise. Sometimes it shows up as pride or arrogance, sometimes as feeling like a victim or feeling less than others. Your ego can be loud or super sneaky. It hides behind thoughts that seem harmless, like, "I should achieve more," "I need to look better," or "I can't show any weakness." When you start to notice these thoughts more clearly, you realize how often your ego controls how you feel inside. But here's the good news. As soon as you recognize your ego, you automatically start to separate yourself from it. This is exactly where your liberation begins. A simple method to become more aware of your ego is to observe your reactions. Suppose someone criticizes you. Pay attention to how you react inside. Do you immediately feel personally attacked? Do you get the urge to justify yourself or fight back? All of these are typical reactions of the ego. In such a moment, try not to react immediately, but to pause. Consciously feel what is happening inside you. Maybe you feel a knot in your stomach, pressure in your chest, or warmth in your face. Observe these physical sensations without immediately judging them. Say to yourself internally, "My ego is active right now. I'm observing what's happening." With this little exercise, you learn to get some distance. You'll find that your ego only has power over you when you unconsciously identify with it. As soon as you start to notice it, its power decreases. You become calmer and more relaxed inside. Another important step is to understand that your ego thrives on comparisons. It constantly compares you to other people. It tells you that you are better or worse. But these comparisons are always subjective and never the truth. If you compare yourself to others, you will always find someone who is better or worse. But you will never find inner peace that way. To break free from this cycle, try to consciously avoid comparisons. When you notice yourself comparing yourself to someone, ask yourself, "What's happening inside me right now?" Simply observe how your ego tries to feel better or worse. This conscious awareness alone helps you reduce the inner pressure. Your goal is to become a neutral observer. You notice what your ego thinks. You feel it too, but you don't give it the power to completely control your decisions and feelings. You'll find that you become much less vulnerable this way, because when your self-worth no longer completely depends on external opinions, a whole new kind of self-confidence develops within you. This is the key to real inner peace. Once you're not controlled by your ego anymore, a new space opens up inside you. A space where you can just be without constantly having to prove you're worthy. In the next part, you'll learn practical exercises on how to strengthen this inner observer in everyday life. This will help you let go of your ego and live a relaxed, happy life. So far, you've understood what your ego is and how it affects your life. You've learned to recognize it, and that's a big step towards inner peace. Now, let's dive deeper and explore practical ways to let go of your ego in everyday life. The first exercise is called Observe Neutrally. Look for moments in your day where you can pause. These don't have to be long meditation sessions. Short breaks, even just 1 minute, are enough. During this break, ask yourself a simple question. What am I thinking right now? Try to see your thoughts from the perspective of a neutral observer. Imagine your thoughts are clouds slowly drifting by. You watch them, but you don't try to hold on to them or change them. You are not your thoughts. You are just observing them. Through this exercise, you'll notice how often your ego shows up in the form of judgments. A second exercise is called Feel Your Reactions. Whenever you notice your ego getting active, pause and consciously observe your feelings and physical reactions. For example, if you are criticized or feel insecure, say to yourself, "Interesting. What am I feeling right now?" Maybe you notice anger, annoyance, or fear. Maybe you feel a tightness in your chest or tension in your stomach. The important thing is that you don't push these feelings away or judge them. Just let them be there. Feel them consciously and observe how they lessen on their own. A third exercise that's really helpful is called Don't Tell Stories. Your ego loves stories. It wants to explain why you got hurt, why other people are to blame, or why you're not good enough. But these stories only make you feel worse. Whenever you notice your mind starting to tell a story, consciously say, "Stop." Try to just notice what's actually happening right now without interpreting it. Instead of thinking, "They're treating me badly because they don't like me," stick to the fact, "They said something that made me uncomfortable." This clarity helps you step out of the ego's drama and react more objectively. The fourth exercise is called Taking Ego Breaks. Every day, consciously take short ego breaks where you allow yourself to just be yourself without having to pretend or prove anything. For example, you could drink a cup of tea or coffee and consciously notice every sip. Feel the warmth of the cup, the taste on your tongue, the stillness of the moment. In these moments, you are simply present, without roles or expectations. The more often you consciously enjoy such moments, the quieter the voice of your ego becomes. You simply give it less space to spread. You realize how pleasant it can be to just be. Finally, a very powerful exercise. Gratitude instead of ego. Gratitude is a state where the ego has no place. Your ego always wants something it doesn't have. But when you're thankful for what you have, even small things, your ego loses its power. Take a few minutes each day and think about what you're grateful for today. It can be something small, like someone's smile, the sunshine, or a good meal. This gratitude will quiet your ego because in gratitude, there's no comparison, no pressure, and no unmet expectations. If you practice these exercises regularly, you'll notice how your life changes. Your ego will become gentler and less in charge. You'll feel more inner peace, calmness, and clarity. In the last part of this video, you'll get a summary and a personal invitation to live more consciously and finally let go of your ego. In this video, you learned that you are not your ego. You are not that inner voice that's always judging, comparing, or criticizing you. Instead, you are the awareness behind it, the neutral observer who feels and recognizes what's going on inside you. Maybe while listening, you've already realized how often your ego dominates you in everyday life. It determines how you feel, what you think, and how you react to others. You've understood that this dominance leads to stress, inner pressure, and often unnecessary suffering. But you've also learned that you can detach from this ego. It's not something you have to fight or defeat. You just need a little distance from it. When you recognize it and become aware of it, it automatically loses its power over you. By seeing yourself as an observer of your thoughts and feelings, you open a path to deep inner freedom. This freedom doesn't mean you won't have challenges anymore, but that you'll handle them differently. You'll notice you become calmer and more relaxed inside. Your decisions will be clearer, and you'll be less affected by what other people think. But change doesn't happen overnight. It takes a conscious decision to pause regularly in your daily life and gently observe your ego without identifying with it. You can start anytime by taking small breaks, being thankful for what's currently happening, and stopping yourself from constantly telling stories about yourself. The more you add these little practices into your daily life, the easier it will become to stop mixing yourself up with your ego. You'll start to strengthen your inner observer, and with it, a new way of living will grow. You'll find inner peace, calmness, and clarity. Here's a question for you to think about. Take a few minutes today and ask yourself honestly, in what situations does your ego show itself most clearly? When do you feel especially judged, pressured, or insecure? Try not to judge these moments, but simply to clearly see them. The more aware you are of your ego, the less power it has over you. That alone is the first step to change. Personal invitation. Maybe you feel right now that you are truly ready to live more consciously and relaxed. Maybe you feel that you no longer want to live a life dominated by the ego, but rather one characterized by inner clarity and peace. If so, I warmly invite you to subscribe to this channel. If you want to find out more about yourself and are looking for ways to go through life more relaxed and positive, subscribe to the channel. That would help you and me. Together we create a space where you learn to consciously recognize your ego, to observe it, and gradually free yourself from its pressure. Thank you for taking the time today to listen, reflect, and open yourself up to something new. Always remember, you are more than your ego. You are the awareness behind it, free, calm, and full of potential. With that in mind, I hope you remember this every day and take one step at a time on the path to true inner freedom.